The Senate will come to order. I ask everyone present to please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In the absence of clergy, let us bow our heads in a moment of silent reflection or prayer. Reading of the Journal.
In Senate, Sunday, January 24th, 2021, the Senate met pursuant to adjournment. The Journal of Saturday, January 23rd, 2021 was read and approved. On motion, Senate adjourned.
Without objection, the Journal stands approved as read. Presentation of petitions. Messages from the Assembly. Messages from the Governor. Oh, the Secretary will read. Apologies.
Senator Kavanaugh moves to discharge from the Committee on Rules Assembly Bill number 954 and substitute it for the identical Senate Bill 893, third reading calendar 46.
Substitution so ordered.
Senator Kaminsky moves to discharge from the Committee on Rules Assembly Bill number 953 and substitute it for the identical Senate Bill 902, third reading calendar 55.
Substitution so ordered. Messages from the Governor. Reports of standing committees. Reports of select committees. Communications and reports from state officers. Motions and resolutions. Senator Gianaris.
Madam President, I want to start session by noting that sadly the Buffalo Bills were unsuccessful yesterday. We've been rooting them good luck every week as we've been here, but it was a hell of a season and we were sure better things ahead in the future for them. So congratulations to Buffalo and all New Yorkers. There will be an immediate meeting of the Finance Committee in room 332, followed by a meeting of the Rules Committee as soon as Finance concludes in the same room.
There will be an immediate meeting of the Finance Committee, followed by a meeting of the Rules Committee in room 332.
The Senate will stand at ease.
The Senate will stand at ease. The Senate will return to order. Senator Gianaris.
Is there a report of the Finance Committee at the desk?
There is a report of the Finance Committee at the desk. The Secretary will read.
Senator Krueger from the Committee on Finance reports the following bill. Senate Budget Bill 2511, an act to amend Chapter 53 of the law of 2020. This bill reports is direct to third reading.
The report of the Finance Committee.
All in favor of accepting the Committee on Finance report signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The report is accepted and before the House.
The Rules Committee at the desk.
There is a report of the Rules Committee at the desk. The Secretary will read.
Senator Stuart Cousins from the Committee on Rules reports the following bills. Senate Print 1632 by Senator Mayer, an act to amend the election law. Senate Print 1644 by Senator Cooney, an act to amend the election law. Senate Print 1705A by Senator Hinchey, an act to amend the election law. Senate Print 2074 by Senator Mayer, an act to amend the labor law. Senate Print 2075 by Senator Brisport, an act to amend the Family Court Act and the chapter of the laws of 2020. Senate Print 2076 by Senator Gianaris, an act to amend the election law. Senate Print 2556 by Senator Savino, an act to amend the administrative code of the City of New York. Senate Print 2557 by Senator Harcum, an act to amend the public service law. Senate Print 2558 by Senator Kennedy, an act to amend the vehicle and traffic law. Senate Print 2733 by Senator May, an act to amend the election law. All bills report direct to third reading.
I move to accept the report of the Rules Committee.
All in favor of accepting the Rules Committee report signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The report is accepted and before the House.
Madam President, at this time, can we take up the reading of the calendar?
The Secretary will read.
Calendar number 25, Senate Print 872 by Senator Benjamin, an act to amend a chapter of the laws of 2020.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect on the same date and in the same manner as a chapter of the laws of 2020.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris, Krueger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 26, Senate Print 873 by Senator Lieu, an act to amend the social services law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the same date and in the same manner as the chapter of the laws of 2020.
Lay it aside.
Calendar number 30, Senate Print 877 by Senator Rivera, an act to amend the public health law.
Lay it aside.
Calendar number 31, Senate Print 878 by Senator Kaminsky, an act to amend the social services law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect on the same date and in the same manner as the chapter of the laws of 2020.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Janoris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
I 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 38, Senate Print 885 by Senator Comrie, an act to amend the Real Property Actions and Proceedings Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the same date and in the same manner as the chapter of the laws of 2020.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Janoris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 38, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Barillo, Gallivan, Helming, Jordan, Martucci, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rath, Ritchie, Sereno, Steck, Tedisco, and White. Ayes 48, nays 15.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 45, Senate Print 892 by Senator Parker, an act to amend the public service law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the same date and in the same manner as the chapter of the laws of 2020.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Janoris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar number 45, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Gallivan, Helming, Obelracker, O'Mara, Ort, and Sereno. Ayes 56, nays 7.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 46, Assembly number 954 by Assemblymember Wallace, an act to amend the state technology law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect on the same date and in the same manner as the chapter of the laws of 2020.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Janoris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar number 46, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Barillo, Boyle, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Jordan, Obelracker, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rath, Ritchie, Sereno, Skoufis, and White. Ayes 47, nays 16.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 50, Senate Print 897 by Senator Harkam, an act to amend a chapter of the laws 2020.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the same date and in the same manner as the chapter of the laws of 2020.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Janoris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 54, Senate Print 901 by Senator Harkam, an act to amend the environmental conservation law.
Read the last section.
Section 6, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Janoris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar number 54, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Barillo, Gallivan, Lanza, Ort, Ritchie, and Sereno. Ayes 56, nays 7.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 55, Assembly number 953 by Assemblymember Engelbright, an act to amend the environmental conservation law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Janoris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 55, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Barillo, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Obelracker, Ort, Rath, and Ritchie. Ayes 54, nays 9.
The bill is passed. Senator Gianaris, that completes the reading of today's calendar. The secretary will read.
Calendar number 154, Senate Budget Bill 2511, an act to amend Chapter 53 of the laws of 2020.
Lay it aside. Senator Gianaris, that completes the reading of today's supplemental calendar.
Thank you, Madam President. Can we now take up the reading of the controversial calendar, beginning with calendar number 30?
The Secretary will ring the bell. The Secretary will read.
Calendar number 30, Senate Print 877 by Senator Rivera, an act to amend the public health law.
Why do you rise?
Mr. President, there should be an amendment at the desk, and I waive the reading of that amendment and ask that you recognize Senator Palumbo to be heard.
Thank you, Senator O'Mara. Upon review of the amendment in accordance with Rule 6, Section 4B, I rule it non-germane and out of order at this time.
Accordingly, Madam President, excuse me for calling you Mr. a moment ago, I appeal the ruling of the chair and ask that Senator Palumbo be recognized and heard on that appeal.
The appeal has been made and recognized, and Senator Palumbo may be heard.
Thank you, Madam President. I appeal the rule of the chair, and the proposed amendment is germane to the bill in chief because both pieces of legislation emanate from the coronavirus pandemic. This amendment would repeal the extraordinary powers granted to the governor, which have enabled the executive branch to have exclusive control over the state's coronavirus response. Now, I think we can all agree that an executive order and the powers of the executive to act unilaterally when a state of emergency is declared is appropriate in certain circumstances. When it comes to, say, for example, procurement of PPE or ventilators, we don't need to go through the deliberative process of legislation in order to accomplish something like that. That's a very simple thing. When it comes to many other decisions that are part of a pandemic such as this and an emergency situation, we certainly need to have that authority vested in the executive. However, that ship eventually sails. We are now coming up on 11 months. And with respect to this legislation, why this amendment is germane is because, quite frankly, this proposed COVID-19 particular bill, which basically changes emerging infections to COVID-19 only, allowing correctional facilities to review their policies and procedures with respect to COVID-19, we don't even need a bill. The governor, with the stroke of a pen, could very easily just enable this law. He has done this hundreds of times over the past several months. So when does it end? Quite frankly, we're derelict in our duty as a legislature to allow one person to unilaterally decide how we're going to proceed with this pandemic. And it's about priorities. The Attorney General sued the NYPD the other day. We dealt with election reforms. Why isn't the most critical thing that we're dealing with right now the pandemic? And we need to do this. That's what we were elected to do. And that's what we're continually paid to do. That is to deal with governing New York State. So quite frankly, this particular bill obviously has to do with COVID-19, and it's completely unnecessary as long as those executive powers are still in effect. And now, when you think about that, good government is done through that process of legislation where we have debate, we have committees, we have amendments, and we go through both houses and then get to the governor. That's what needs to be done at this point, because we don't need to make snap decisions. We knew the vaccine was coming for how many months? When the vaccine got to New York State, it was a fiasco trying to get the internet to work properly, the website wasn't properly rolled out, and we've had huge problems ever since. Why? Because we have one person driving the bus. We need to be included in this process. And quite frankly, it's time to pull the plug. And when you think about just the arbitrary nature of some of these decisions, restaurants, hospitality is the #1 tax revenue source in New York City and #2 statewide. Our hospitality businesses are being destroyed because of the whims of the executive, saying we must be closed. And then a couple weeks ago, he said, well, you know what, we can't be closed anymore. We can no longer stay closed. But let's talk about reality. Target hasn't closed for a day. Walmart, Home Depot, these so-called essential businesses, they haven't been super spreaders. They've been open since day one. Now it's coming on 11 months, And I'm getting calls of people begging to get their businesses open at the whims of the governor. When he feels when he's darn good and ready is when they'll be able to get back to work, if they will ever open their doors again. So it's time, my friends. When do we get back to work? It's been 11 months. We're in session. We can do it remotely. We can move much more quickly, I think, than we normally could outside of the pandemic because we have remote access to this chamber and to both houses. So good government is part of the deliberative process. It's not when one person is telling us what to do and how to govern the state. So really, quite frankly, the rhetorical question that we need to have answered is when are we going to get back to work and get back to a normal process to govern New York State? I've said it several times, but it bears repeating. The answer is now, because a bill like this, the bill in chief, I'll say it again, is certainly something that could be done quite easily by executive order, and it will sunset and expire once we're out of the pandemic. So there's really no reason to do this. And quite frankly, Madam President, I'd respectfully request that this amendment be approved, and I urge my colleagues to vote in the affirmative. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I want to remind the House that the vote is on the procedures of the House and the ruling of the chair. Those in favor of overruling the chair signify by saying aye.
Madam President, we've agreed to waive the showing of hands and record each member of the minority in the affirmative on this vote.
Without objection, so ordered. Announce the results.
Ayes 20.
The ruling of the chair stands, and the bill in chief is before the House. Are there any other senators wishing to be heard? Seeing and hearing none, debate is closed. The secretary will ring the bell. Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the same date and in the same manner as the chapter of the laws of 2020.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris, Kruger, or Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed. The secretary will read.
Calendar number 26, Senate Print 873 by Senator Liu, an act to amend the social services law.
Oh, Senator Helming.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I rise to ask if the sponsor will yield to a few questions.
Senator Liu, will you yield?
Madam President, I am pleased to yield.
Senator yield.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, Madam President, Senator Liu, I first want to start off by commending you for sponsoring this legislation. I think it's a great bill and one that I do support. However, I do have a question on it. Reading the chapter amendment, in a nutshell, it basically says that this bill would require the commissioner to collect certain information regarding the homeless population during a state disaster emergency in publicly funded shelters, residential programs for victims of domestic violence, and residential programs for runaway and homeless youth, and publish a report that contains certain information about homelessness. And Senator Liu, my question is how the information in the report will be utilized.
Madam President, through you, I want to thank Senator Helming for her support for this bill and bringing up some important questions. As the senator would agree, the purpose behind this bill is important. We have been and continue to be in a global pandemic crisis, and we understand that the homeless population of our state has been disproportionately impacted. The information that this report aims to collect is for the use of health authorities, as well as many in the public sector, including ourselves, to formulate good public policy going forward, to help the population in question, as well as to help the rest of us, because having people suffer coronavirus does not do anybody any good.
Through you, Madam President, on the bill.
On the bill.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Liu. So again, I commend the sponsor on this legislation, and again, I support this bill. However, listening to that explanation and reading the legislation, I'm concerned that it doesn't cover many of our small rural communities where we don't have publicly funded sites like domestic violence shelters and other areas. I think it's incredibly important that everyone be counted, right? All of the homeless people, all of the impacted people. And my concern with leaving out in certain communities is that this report may be used then to generate or to drive or direct where funding will go, how policies are made. And there's nowhere that I see where, again, it addresses acquiring that information for communities that don't have these publicly funded shelters. And I'll give you an example. In Seneca County, one of the counties that I represent, in New York State, there are only six counties that don't have a domestic violence shelter. Seneca County happens to be one of those counties. And in 2017, this body approved $300,000 for the creation of a domestic violence shelter. That shelter was going to be built in Seneca County, but it was going to provide residential services for 3 of those 6 counties that don't currently have one. So again, my concern is that for these small communities that don't have these shelters, that the homeless people in those communities aren't going to be counted. Senator Liu, I know that wasn't your intent. Again, I support this legislation, but I hope as we move forward, we will find a way to make adjustments to this legislation or introduce new legislation, or better yet, during the budget process, make sure that we include funding to provide public shelters for our small rural communities. Thank you, Madam President.
Are there any other senators wishing to be heard? Seeing and hearing none, debate is closed. The secretary will ring the bell. Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the same date and in the same manner as the chapters of law 2020.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 144, Senate Budget Bill 2511, an act to amend Chapter 53 of the laws of 2020.
Senator O'Mara.
Thank you, Madam President. I was just wondering if the sponsor or majority representative could explain what this budget bill is doing.
Senator Liu, will you yield for a question?
Madam President, I'm pleased to yield for questions on this bill.
Yes, Senator O'Mara.
Mr. or Senator, could you please just outline what we're doing here in this $71 billion budget bill?
President, I'd be happy to. Thank you. Well, you mentioned, Senator O'Mara mentioned $71 billion. It's actually an $11 billion additional appropriation, an appropriation that is necessary to pay the bill on a program that we enacted last year. That program that we enacted essentially is helping people who have become unemployed get some form of income during this global pandemic. The appropriation that we put in last year's budget already is about to be exhausted, and so through the end of this fiscal year, another $11 billion is required. I will note, Madam President, that the vast bulk of this appropriation will ultimately be reimbursed by the federal government.
Madam President, will the sponsor yield?
Will the senator yield?
With joy, Madam President.
Thank
Senator
you, Senator Liu, and I fully anticipate voting in favor of this legislation because this unemployment relief is desperately needed. But just want to get some real more clarity on this. In the last year's budget, the 2021 budget appropriated $60 billion for this purpose, and that covers both the state regular unemployment and the additional federal unemployment. Is that correct?
Madam President, that is correct.
Through you, Madam President, will Mr. Liu, Senator Liu?
Senator Liu, do you
Continue.
continue to yield?
With bliss.
He does.
So in this bill, Senator, we are adding another $11 billion. Can you provide us with a breakout of both the $60 billion that was from last year's budget and this $11 billion? How much of that is going to ultimately be reimbursed by the federal government? Or what's the expectation?
President, in response to Senator O'Mara's question, we expect about $58 billion of that to come through federal reimbursements. A breakdown of that would be, we all understand the federal pandemic unemployment compensation, that's about $37 billion. The well-known PUA, the Pandemic and Unemployment Assistance, $13 billion, another $6 billion for federal pandemic emergency unemployment compensation. And finally, the federal extended benefits for another $2 billion.
Through you, Madam President, will the sponsor yield?
Senator Liu, do you yield?
I'd be more than happy to yield, Madam
The
President.
senator yields.
So, Senator Liu, on that $58 billion expected federal reimbursement of that, is that out of the total 71 or of the prior 60 limit?
Out of the total 70, it's actually 73.
Through you, Madam President, Mr. Senator Liu will yield.
Senator Liu, do you continue to yield?
Yes, I do, Madam President.
Senator Liu yields.
So, based on that, the state is ultimately, we expect, going to be repaying, at least at this point, based on these numbers, $13 billion. What is the mechanism that we have set up to repay that? In other words, how long do we have to repay it? What interest rate? What are our annual payments? And how long do we have to pay that back?
President, this is, as the senator may be aware, these unemployment insurance benefits are paid through the state unemployment insurance fund. And given that that will likely go into a deficit, as it has in previous difficult times, such as the Great Recession about a decade ago, those funds will be first borrowed and guaranteed by the federal government, and eventually those funds will be replenished by ongoing insurance premiums paid by the state's employers. It's very similar to what has happened in previous recessions and economic uncertainties.
Thank you, Senator. Madam President, will the sponsor yield?
Senator Liu, do you yield?
I joyfully yield, Madam President.
Yield.
Senator, in the executive budget proposal that we received last week, I believe there is a line item in there for $130 million of interest on the $60 million. Is that interest just on the state portion, or are we paying interest on that federal portion that's been advanced as well?
President, my understanding is that that interest is on the federal portion.
Through you, Madam President, if Senator Liu will continue to yield.
Senator Liu, do you continue to yield?
Happy to continue to yield, Madam President.
Senator Liu yields.
Is there an expectation that that interest will be repaid by the federal government, or is that on our tab moving forward?
President, we expect, whether you call the federal reimbursements the actual unemployment insurance or the interest on that, it's still going to be federally reimbursed. It's not going to be 100% reimbursed, as I mentioned earlier, but the vast bulk of it still will be reimbursed.
Thank you, Senator. Madam President, if the sponsor would yield for one more question.
Senator Liu, do you yield?
With a great level of pleasure, Madam President.
Senator yields.
Senator, with last year's interest payment amounting to $130 million, and now we're bumping this up by another $11 billion in borrowing. What is the anticipated interest that's going to accrue on this $71 billion amount for the next fiscal year?
unfortunately, we don't know exactly where interest rates are going to be. Interest rates are historically low, so it shouldn't be a huge amount. On the other hand, most New Yorkers, as I think Senator O'Mara is hinting, would think that $130 million is a lot of interest to pay. If we could get this money from the federal government in advance, we'd love to. But the reality is that we need to pay these unemployment benefits for New Yorkers who have lost their employment. And we're talking about tens of billions of dollars of benefits that have been paid out. So $130 million is a lot. But compared to $73 billion worth of unemployment benefits that are desperately needed by our New Yorkers, it's the price that comes with the package.
Senator Lou, on the bill, Madam
Senator
Speaker,
O'Mara on the bill.
I am supportive of this. It's necessary. We don't have a choice, and we have to provide these much-needed benefits to New Yorkers who are out of work and struggling. So I'm recommending an aye vote from all on this to make sure that we cover this. I just want, through these questions, to make sure that we all understand and the public understands the extent of funds that are going into our unemployment relief that we've been providing and that we obviously support, continue providing. But also out of that, what a significant amount of that is actually federal funding, $58 billion out of $71 billion, which the executive in this state fails to really mention or give any consideration on what the federal government has provided for relief already to New York State. So with that, thank you, Madam President.
Are there any other senators wishing to be heard? Seeing and hearing none, debate is closed. The secretary will ring the bell. Read the last section.
Section 2, this act will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris, Kruger, or Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed. Senator Gianaris, that completes the reading of the controversial calendar.
Is there any further business at the desk, Madam President?
There is no further business at the desk.
In that case, I move to adjourn until tomorrow, Tuesday, January 26th at 11 a.m.
On motion, the Senate stands adjourned until Tuesday, January 26th at 11 a.m.